Hey, what's up guys? It's Marv and welcome back to another Drive Syndicate. So we finally have Drive Syndicate 12 with the recent update in Asphalt Legends, and of course the featured car is the Arish Imperium. I'm definitely not getting that car, but you'll see some gameplay of it in the video, and of course, like any other crazy S-Class car, it is really fun to drive. Maybe a little OP. I might be interested to see how it performs in multiplayer to see if it really is that good. I'm definitely not getting it though, so I'm not, super concerned about it. I already knew I wasn't gonna get it anyway. Just like most of the other Drive Syndicates, you sort of have to set your expectations before going into it depending on where you are in your progress. And progress is exactly what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So obviously it has been a couple of days and I'm slowly getting my way through the Drive Syndicate, and so far I haven't really gotten into any blocks, and it looks like for the foreseeable future it's gonna stay that way. So the title of the video might be like too good to be true or so far so good, because honestly this does look like a pretty good layout for Drive Syndicates. I know recently we've had some quite interesting Drive Syndicates. We had, I think it was a little smaller one with the other Tuatara Striker, and a couple of the past Drive Syndicates have almost been impossible for free-to-play users, but this time around things are looking good. Now I'm just going to jump straight into the good points about this Drive Syndicate, and then we'll get into the kind of not so good into the later bits of the video. But one of the good points about this Drive Syndicate is that the two main cars are the McLaren 600 LT Spider and the Apollo IE. Both of these cars have either been featured in previous Drive Syndicates or they have been mass available for the past couple of years in Asphalt Legends. So even if you've been playing the game casually over the past couple of years, there's a good chance that either you've unlocked these cars or you have them pretty far starred up. Now in my case, I'm pretty lucky in the sense that because of those 40 blueprints that you get during each new stage of the Drive Syndicate, so you'll get 40 blueprints for the Apollo and 40 blueprints of the 600 LT, those blueprints are actually going to max out the cars for me, and I've already gotten to the point where my Apollo IE is fully maxed out. So I'm not going to have to spend any of the Syndicate coins on that car, and I probably won't have to spend any for the 600 LT Spider as well. So if you've been playing the game for a while like I have, and you already have some of these cars, it's going to make your progress a lot easier. Now we're going to get to the little bit of the downside. Now firstly, for the DS or Citroen Servolt, yes, you did get the car for free, and I did get a couple of blueprints from the Team Pursuit game mode about a week ago, which was quite nice. However, I did a little bit of an oopsie. I did spend some currency buying my way to 2 stars without noticing that eventually I think I would be able to get 20 free blueprints by just having a 1-star car. But yeah, I sort of realized that after the fact, so that's a little bit of a mistake from my part, but oh well, it wasn't really that much. I think it was maybe only 15,000 Syndicate coins, so I'm not super concerned because, like I've been saying for the past couple of minutes, the Apollo IE and 600 LT are covered for me. Alright, so now I want to move on to my realistic expectations for this Drive Syndicate, and that is the Pagani Zonda Cinque. So after you finish the B-class stages with the 600 LT Spider and the Apollo IE, you reach the Zonda Cinque, and honestly, that is my entire goal with this Drive Syndicate. I think pretty much for the past like 9 or so Drive Syndicates, every single one I have gotten into, I've pretty much gotten the realistic expectation of I'm not getting the flagship car, I'm not getting even close, so where can I sort of land, what cars do I already have, how much currency am I going to end up with, and I set a realistic expectation. And for this one, it's the Zonda Cinque. Now, what I think I'm going to do is do one of two things. I can either reach the Zonda Cinque and just try and get as many blueprints for that car as possible, maybe even max it out depending on how much currency I have, or I can stretch and maybe, just maybe, get as far as I can with the Jesko Absolute. Now I think I'm leaning more towards the Zonda Cinque because if I max out that car, it's going to be a pretty decent A-class car, especially for multiplayer. Whereas with the Jesko Absolute, I'm going to have to wait until I start reaching those stages to start calculating if it's even realistic. Now, if you've played some of the more recent Drive Syndicates, you may have a couple of Jesko Absolute blueprints in your stockpile. Maybe you've even started up a couple of times. You might not have the key, but you've made some good progress. However, if you look at my account, I literally have one singular blueprint for the Yesco Absolute. So as I was talking through those scenarios, more and more I'm just sort of convincing myself that I think going for as much of a Zonda Cinque Max or Star Up as possible is the best move for me. I don't think it realistically makes a lot of sense to just acquire some Yesco Absolute blueprints if I'm not even going to get close to unlocking it when it comes back in the future. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to get it this time around, even if I do try and max out like the currency and the spending that I do, doing all of the money runs, etc. I don't think I'm going to get as far as getting the key for that car. So yeah, I think I'm landing on just going for the Zonda Cinque and starring it up as much as I can. So in terms of setting myself up for the future of the Drive Syndicate event this time around, that's sort of my game plan. Get through what I can and go for the Zonda Cinque. And I think that makes the most sense for me, well, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I just described it, obviously just the monetary reasons, right? I don't even know if I'm going to get close to getting the Yesco Absolute, even in the near future. But also just for that nostalgia bait, I love the Zonda Cinque. It was the cover car for Asphalt 6. It was sorely missed in the past couple of Asphalt games. I was wondering why they never quite added the Cinque back, even though we had the Zonda R, we had, I think, the Zonda HP Barchetta, but we never had the Cinque. So I'm super excited that it's finally back, and I'm just so happy that I might have a decent chance of even getting it at max. Most of the time when I'm getting a car just for the collection, I don't realistically care that much about the performance. I just want to be able to say that I own it in the game. But this time around, I think I'm going to get it pretty far up there in terms of rank. Now, just wrapping up the video here, there are a couple of other things I do want to mention. Firstly, the Citroen Servault is just awesome. I know I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the video, but I haven't been this excited for a starter DS car in a very long time. Not only is it better than a really bad D-Class car like we've had in the past, but it's also, again, like I mentioned with the Zonda, a nostalgia bait, and it's just an exciting car to have in my garage. So maybe even if I max out the Zonda, I could just go through and max out the Servault. Yeah, it's going to be a useless car, but also I don't care, I want it. The other interesting thing I want to talk about is the whole Drive Syndicate story thing. Because as far as I'm aware, I have not seen any of those cutscenes where you have the dialogue between the characters. I don't even think we have a custom Drive Syndicate logo this time around. Now, there's sort of two ways you can look at this. On one hand, it was kind of obvious from the start that wasn't the focus point of the Drive Syndicate. If it were, we would have seen a bit more effort put into the story. I even think that the comics we had, I think it was for Drive Syndicate 2 or 3 with, I think it was Furum and RPM Alex, that was really cool, and I've always hoped that they would bring something like that back because it was a good way to connect with the community. However, they stopped doing that, and they sort of went less and less with the lore, and this time around we just don't have any at all. Now, I would prefer that the developers put their time and effort into other things in the game besides writing out all of these different chats, because again, we're not having any animated cutscenes or art pieces. It was mainly just a bunch of text. And if someone is spending a couple of hours doing that, I feel like there was a good amount of time they could spend doing other more useful things. And for me personally, I wasn't really invested into any of it, especially as all of the characters did get a little confusing and a little vague. They never had any substance to them anyway, so I just started not to care that much about them. And on top of that, I was just skipping through it because there was just a ton of walls of text that I was just sick and tired of. However, I will say it is a little sad that a lot of the thematic elements are sort of being put to rest. So again, that custom logo that we're not seeing, we aren't seeing those cinematics or anything too crazy or hyped up around the recent Drive Syndicate events, which is a little disappointing because it did give the game a little bit of that flair, a little bit of the character that I was so desperately hoping that Asphalt would develop within the past couple of years, but we never really got it. And I thought the Drive Syndicate was the best shot at it, and it just turned out that wasn't the case. So yes, I'm a little disappointed that we aren't getting all of these little details, but at the same time, it was understandable, and based on the previous expectations, it was sort of, well, to be expected that we weren't going to get a whole lot this time around. I would still like to see some more emphasis on at least maybe that sort of thematic elements of security versus syndicate, maybe sprinkled out here and there throughout the game, or maybe a couple of more pieces of art or cinematic effects. something like that to really make the game feel more unique and characteristic, because now that we don't have those walls of text or those custom logos, it does make this game feel even more flat. So anyway guys, I'm gonna leave it there in terms of the first part of my Drive Syndicate journey. Let me know how far you guys are in the current Drive Syndicate in the comment section down below. Are you excited for the Zonda Cinque? Are you going for the Arash? Let me know all of that. And yeah, I'm really excited because this time around it does seem pretty good. And again, you set your expectations low, you won't be disappointed. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all later.